You know, I believe that most arid lands evolved with groups of herbivores periodically feeding heavily on the landscape and then moving on. Whether you're talking about bison, whether you're talking about pronghorns, whether you're talking about grasshoppers and locusts. Periodically there were big populations that would eat a bunch of forage and then move on. I think the land is used to that. So what we try to do with our livestock, even though they're not necessarily native to this area, is make their function on the landscape be like that. In other words, they come through, they graze a pasture, they take the vegetation off, but they don't graze it to the point or for a long enough period of time where they really hurt plants. And then they move, and what we do is we allow that pasture to rest and recover, grow back, before we come in and we graze it again. From our monitoring, what we've seen is that the land responds, the plants respond. Essentially what we're seeing is less bare ground and more live living plants on the landscape, and a good diversity of plants, grasses, flowering plants, and shrubs. And that, in my opinion, is the key to why we have healthy wildlife populations as well as, you know, productive livestock herds.
With time-controlled grazing, what you're doing is you are limiting where the cattle are and for how long they're going to be there and how many you have in any one spot. Okay? You're going to move them in a very controlled fashion from one portion of the range to another portion of the range in such a way that you're able to manage the resources of the range and water quality such that we end up with greater productivity on that land.
From a range health perspective, I think we've seen range improvements, dramatic range improvements, a lot more forage production, better functioning riparian areas, cleaner runoff, more water gets in the ground and is utilized for plant growth than what runs off the ranch. From an enterprise perspective, we've been able to run significantly more cattle than what was run prior to our change in management. And we've also seen increases in the wildlife populations as well.
That's the whole goal here, is to make sure that if the allotments stay and they're managed a little bit differently, to not just get the benefit of the output, the benefit of the market production of cattle, but also to accrue the non-market benefits. That is, we're providing better habitat for animals, which has a value, and we're providing better water quality, which also has a value.
We've just grazed this pasture. We've grazed it for a number of days, and this is one of the driest years I've ever seen here. We've taken a lot of the riparian vegetation off as well as the upland vegetation, but we haven't killed plants. It's going to recover. You can go out there and you won't see a lot of height on some of the plants, but you'll see enough that they can photosynthesize, they can, you know, get themselves healthy again and grow back.
Essentially, we're going to get a win-win. We're going to be able to keep livestock production in a rural portion of the state, and we get to improve water quality. So now you've got water quality, wildlife resources saying, hey, this is going to work.